All right, welcome into the studios today, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Mary Crowson, Dr. Crowson now.
Well, just recently, thank you,
Yeah,
Ron.
I'll sit up real straight and pay attention. When I was thinking about today, I said, well, if she's running late, I have to stay the entire time. I can't leave after 15 minutes.
Well, there you go. I'm going to say I haven't taught yet, but that might be in the future. Who knows?
People know what I'm talking about. I'm
yeah,
sure most people.
Classes,
Yeah,
exactly.
That's right. I can remember those days. If it was a professor, we were gone in a few minutes, but if it was a doctor, we had to sit there the entire period. What if it was a 2-hour class? We sat right there. And some would test you on that, would they not?
They sure would.
Well, now, you've been here for a minute. You've been here since the early 2000s, about, what, 20 years now?
We came to Dublin in January of 2001. Mm-hmm. My husband was having some health issues, and we wanted a warmer climate. Yeah. And that was when they first started, the internet was booming, and I actually found the job at Pine Forest online, applied, came down, interviewed, fell in love with Dublin. And George Sturden, one of my choir members, jokes, I fell in love with it. I've been here ever since.
Yeah.
And Dublin has been very good to us. We're very thankful for the tenure we've had here.
Yeah. So many questions I have for you, Mary. I've admired you from afar for years, seen you come and go through the station, with the church services being on 35, even back to when we were using videotapes that would stack up and VCR tapes.
That's right. We've come a long way with technology.
Thank the Lord,
That's
right?
exactly right. It's made life easier in so many ways.
Yeah, it really has. But before we go too much further, let's talk about where you moved from, where you grew up, and where you went to school.
Well, thank you. That's a great question. I grew up in Southern Ohio. I had the luxury of growing up in the same place, same parents, same schools. Went to college in the same county that I grew up. And then in 1987, I started at Asbury Seminary. Asbury is a place near and dear to our hearts. Because that's where I met my husband. He is an ordained United Methodist pastor. He got his degree from Asbury. I got a degree in church music from there, master's. And then we served in Kentucky. I served at one church, and then he served other churches in that area and did evangelism as well with revivals and that kind of thing for about 10 years. And then that's when we transitioned to Dublin and have raised our kids here. My daughter, who's now closer to 30, was in 3rd grade, started at Hillcrest. That kind of gives you some background. And my son was 3. He started at Susie Dasher. They both graduated from Trinity. And now my son's in college. He's a senior. Going to finish up at Lee University near Chattanooga. And then my daughter is in law school, and she has 1 year left. So next year we're going to have a couple graduations. Hopefully we'll have time to get to one in Arizona and one in Tennessee. It might be a little hairy, but we're looking forward to them. They've turned out really well, thanks to some good folks here in Dublin that have helped us raise them.
Yeah, amen to that, isn't it?
That's right.
I mean, you have so many opportunities with children, and you feed into them, and you pray that you're doing a good job and that you're feeding the right things into them, and that they can tell that your heart is in the right place. But man, when you surround them with good people.
That's right. And one of the joys of serving at Pine Forest, I've been thinking especially recently, you see these college and high school graduations. Being here 20 years, I've watched so many of these students, I might call them kids, but they wouldn't want to be called kids, from their early years. Some of them, I was there, right after they were born, up through high school and college, and it's wonderful to see them bloom and succeed and go to medical school or law school or start a career and raise their own families.
And much less you see those parents who have those kids, grow up in the church, they serve, and those parents are servants in our community. And Pine Forest is one of those churches that gives so much. Mission is so important.
Exactly. They have done everything from our annual Jamaica medical mission trip to more recently they fed the folks at the hospital and community mental health, and they are really a community focused church, not just on the folks who show up on Sunday mornings.
Yeah. And even though the staff has changed, some of the people, some of the faces have changed over time. That nucleus there, that desire to serve, the heart of the church has always been so evident in our community.
Oh, by all means. I'm saying as we were setting up, it was a pleasure to be brought on staff when Bill Bagwell was here. Some folks will remember the Bagwells who have roots in the Key family, which is a big family locally. And then I served under Steve Patton, who had an unprecedented tenure of about 9 years, which is, for a Methodist church, you don't usually stay more than 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And then most recently, when I retired, Wes Moy is finishing up, I think, his 5th year. So it's been great to serve under all those senior pastors.
Yeah. And you could reflect the personalities of each of them and how they love on the community. And
that's right. And they all have different gifts and graces, and have been great for Pine Forest.
Yeah. And you have too now.
Well, thank you.
You've developed a great music ministry there.
It's been my pleasure. There is a lot of talented musicians there, but there's also a lot of loving people. And I would rather serve with 20 who love God and give 100% than to have 4 or 5 who are super talented, but their heart is not in it.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily passionate about what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what makes the difference.
Yeah. And the versatility that you have, you not only can sing the traditional hymns and enjoy those and bring them forth in such glory as they should be, but the contemporary, you chime right in on those as well.
Well, I enjoy those. For several years, I was in the 9 o'clock service where we sing the contemporary stuff, and I still helped out a little bit there, but when Jordan Mims, another local musical family, came on staff, and she's been very gifted at leading that. That kind of helped me to kind of narrow my focus and relieved a lot of stress that, to be several different places doing several different things, but especially on Sunday when things are so busy, it just took a load off for her to be able to take over that and offer great leadership.
Yeah, and when you see someone like that who's gifted, who's sanctified,
yes,
you can tell what's going on, and it just comes right together, doesn't it?
It sure does. Jordan really has a heart for the Lord and for leading worship, and it really shows that passion that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about 20 years here, and then all of a sudden I hear you're leaving.
Well, that's a good question. You called me doctor. If it's okay, I'll tell a little bit about that journey.
Please.
God had really laid on my heart that I needed to do something. I wasn't sure what that was, but I felt like I was being led to go back to school. I didn't really feel led to do more music, but to apply for the Doctor of Ministry program at Asbury Seminary. And I said, God, I don't have the qualifications. They require this degree and that, and I don't have any of that. And I ended up taking some classes to qualify for admission, and then I said, God, we can't afford this. I've got this and this and this on my plate. And so I pretty much said, to the admissions folks, I've got a husband who's chronically ill with asthma and other things. I have a kid in college, a kid that's getting ready to go to college, and I don't have, it's a program for pastors. I said, I'm not a pastor. But God opened that door wide, and so I stepped through it. And it was a doctorate in leading and preaching. And one of the passions of my heart is coaching those who are younger who come along, and there have been pastors who have done that for me. And that's what I did my research on. And I think God right now is opening a door. What I'm hoping to do is some life coaching. I'm going to get some certification to do that. But we're going to transition to Arizona. It's a good time. I've just finished my doctorate with our daughter who's there. We also have other family members in Arizona. And my father passed away about a year ago, and things kind of just, God brings it all together in a way that we ourselves couldn't orchestrate. So we're going to make that transition. We're looking forward to being in Arizona. There's going to be a lot more traffic, a lot more heat. But as you hit your 50s and you think, gosh, what do the next 20, 30, 40 years hold? And you think, okay, where are my kids going to land? And we just felt like this was a good time to transition to Arizona, and we're looking forward to doing that. We haven't gotten a house or anything yet. The coronavirus has kind of put all that on ice.
Yeah.
People can understand that, but that's where we're hoping to be, somewhere by Labor Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the Lord just laid it on your heart to go back.
Indeed, and I kind of found, seminary, I loved it. I loved the coursework, I loved the content. I didn't find it overwhelmingly challenging, so I really didn't have a lot of expectation for the doctorate, and it was very hard. I thought it would be the regurgitation. It's not a very pleasant word, but so many times you take classes and you have to spit the information back out to get the A. And a lot of professions are like that, where you can memorize it. But in this degree, they give you a wide variety of texts and teaching, and then they want you to assimilate it and then be able to say, yes, I agree with this, but I disagree with that. And how do you plan to use it now and in the future in your ministry? And so they want you to not only take it in, but be able to say, this is what I think, and this is how I see this at work in my own ministry or in the future.
Yeah.
And
so you had to write a thesis?
we had to write a dissertation. That's a good question. The dissertation is a 5-chapter book we wrote, and it needed to be at least 125 pages. Had to have at least 75 sources. Mine was closer to 200 pages, probably more like 150 sources, and it's overwhelming to think about doing that in one block. But the way Asbury does it, it was really good. It was very helpful to me, and it's a minimum 3-year program. Because of the way it was structured, I was able to complete it on time. You write essentially a chapter of your dissertation each semester, and it's approved as you go along. So by the time you get to the end of the 3 years, if you've stayed on track, you've written your 5-chapter dissertation with your research, and then you present it as the final completion. And that was what I did just last week, and went very well, and I'm tickled to death, but I'm looking forward to having some time to binge watch some TV and read some fluff books and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but the whole time, Mary, you were exercising. Let me say, with all due respect, you're half the woman you used to be.
Well, almost, thank you, yes. It's really been a transformation over the last 10 years. I did work hard. I've had a lot of support over the years. I went to TOPS, which is taking off pounds sensibly. It didn't work with my schedule, and so I tried doing it on my own. There's been a lot of supportive people, including my family, over the years. But what has really made the biggest difference in the last couple of years, and one of the reasons I'm looking at doing some coaching and life coaching, is my friend Tammy came alongside and said, okay, we're going to do this and this and this. And she's done, 50-state marathons, and has had a lifetime of fitness. And one of the great things about our friendship is we have realized, we're not NCAA Division I athletes. We're average people who go to the gym, who walk or run, and I tell people, if I can do it, because I fall over just walking or running. If I can do it, you can do it. It's not so much, I want to be here in 5 years. It's a daily commitment. Like this morning, you may notice my hair is wet, but I got out and walked before I came. Got soaking wet. But you have to make that commitment. I try to go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week, work out upper body, lower body, and that's, it's been a transformation of, like I said, about 10 years. I didn't snap my fingers. It wasn't a fad diet.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle change.
Amen.
And a diet takes off the weight, but then you're going to put it back on because you're going to fall into those old habits.
Yeah.
And so you have to make a choice to change things, because you're going to fall into those old habits too easily.
Yeah. So Mary, we'll talk more about that. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to be right back. You'll want to stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Jeff Cannon, President of Citizens Bank of Orange County. When we began looking for a location for our second Dublin banking office, the historic Henry Building looked like the perfect spot because Dublin and Lawrence County is our focus, and making banking easier and more convenient for our customers is our goal. Citizens Bank of Lawrence County, member FDIC, and an equal housing lender.
A local full-service community bank offering quality banking services. Citizens Bank of Lawrence County, now open in downtown Dublin.
Hey, I'm Glenn Register with Hometown Supply. Hometown Supply, located in downtown Dublin, is here for all of your home and hardware needs. We work with customers. I know sometimes times get tough. We work with you through those. Local delivery is available for merchandise sold. Anything that a customer needs, we take care of. Just remember, if you can't do business at Hometown Supply, you just can't do business.
What makes Century 21 Durden and Cornegay the #1 realty group in the area? First off, we sell more homes, and our team of agents works harder than any other realty brokerage. Buying or selling a home can be made easy with our professionals, so make the #1 choice in your real estate agent. Century 21 Durden and Cornegay Realty. For more information, log on to c21dublin.com or call us at 272-1535.
All right, back with you, Dr. Mary Crowson here with us, and we were talking about falling back into bad habits. You know, it's true in our spiritual life. It's true in our physical or emotions. It's true all the way through our lives that if we don't set a precedent, if we don't work diligently to spend time doing what we should do and what we know to be right, then we're going to fall back, and we all are going to continue to make mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Every now and then you might even eat a piece of cake if you work hard enough, but piece of pizza or something. But you know, it is that discipline. You can't just say, I don't want to get up and walk today, and I don't want to get up and walk tomorrow either.
There you go.
Because in 3 days straight, and what are you doing?
Exactly. You have fallen off the wagon. You have sold it for insurance money and then spent the insurance money on Twinkies, deep fried Twinkies.
Yeah.
One of the comparisons I would use is I like to work in my yard and garden, and every time I go out there, no matter how much I pull weeds or spray Roundup, there is something I've missed that's coming up. And when you fertilize and feed the plants you want, it fertilizes the ones you don't want. And so you have to focus on what you do want and try to run away or pull up, snatch out the things you don't want. And and I've lost weight, but I have to be careful. And one of the things I'm trying to do since I've reached my goal weight is to try and say, okay, twice a month I'm going to have this treat, or, you know, my weakness is pizza and ice cream. And so, you know, I would eat it every day, but that is how I got to where I lost over 100 pounds. And people will say, how did you lose that? And they want to know, it comes across as, what pill did you take, or what fad diet did you do? I didn't do either one. There's no pills, there's no fad diet. It's hard work, it's perseverance, and making a daily choice to do the right thing, just like it is with your spiritual life, with reading your Bible, with praying, with gardening, with anything in life. You have to choose integrity, and you have to choose to do the right thing and to say, God, what do you want me to do today? And sometimes the easier thing to do is not necessarily what God is saying to do. And so it's a daily, hourly, minute-by-minute choice a lot of times.
And here you are, you talk about Tammy, your friend, as she moved in here from another state, went to work with the VA from what I understand. Let's talk about Tammy for a moment. She's your accountability partner.
She is, and she has had grace, but she's also called, I would call it nagging. She probably would too. But we are good for each other. She lived here previously, worked at the VA about 8 or 10 years ago, and then has taught on a couple different occasions before she came back. Went over to University of Alabama, Birmingham, and taught optometry there, then came back to be closer to family that lives in South Carolina.
Yeah.
But one of the things we've worked on, I've been working on losing weight and staying steady, and she, because she loves running and loves activity, has been working on gaining weight. So we're kind of good for each other. I say, you know, I really would like to have a snack. Why don't you eat a snack? And so she'll eat a snack, even though she, you know,
Yeah.
I live to eat and she lives to run. And so we've
Yeah.
been kind of good for each other. And she's had me running and doing some things I would never have done myself.
That's wonderful. So we need that. We need it in different walks of life. Whatever issues we may have, we need to find that accountability partner with our spirituality. We need to be around positive people, people who encourage us. We can't always, and we want to feed into others' lives who are having issues. We all have some.
Sure.
We have all had them.
Yes,
And
I
need
agree.
assistance. And if you don't have that love in your heart, then you need to check yourself right there,
There you go.
before you go any further. But
That's
but
right.
you do have that love in your heart, Mary, and I'm so glad to be able to sit down and speak with you. When you look at your children, what do you owe? I know you mentioned the church family, and I know you take into account you and your husband and what you fed into them, but what made a difference in their lives personally?
I think the close-knit environment of Dublin and Lawrence County, there's so many advantages. You and your family may say the same thing. Especially my daughter is like, I can't do anything around here without somebody knowing who I am and telling you about it. That's one of the things we'll miss when we move to Phoenix, or, you know, it's a small town. Where do you take your car to get it fixed? Or what plumber do you call? That kind of thing. It's just a close-knit community. I've had a wonderful accountability group that I met with almost weekly. Have to start over there. One of the things that's been really good for me and my daughter is Kelly Knight's bird groups.
Yeah.
I have so enjoyed singing in owls. You know, directing, it's wonderful to be able to do that, but it's such a gift to be able to sing under somebody like Kelly, who has not only outward beauty, but a beautiful heart, and pours into so many in the community. My son Christian was deeply affected by the ministry of Dick Burrell, taking voice lessons there. So many different people and so many relationships, just a supportive, loving network in Dublin. And we're so thankful for the many friendships we've built. We hope to come back and visit. We're thankful, though, that we've got family in Arizona, so we feel like we've got kind of a head start there.
Yeah.
And looking forward to some nice weather. Maybe a little more predictable, a little warmer, but we're looking forward to great things, and we will certainly remember Dublin with a lot of thankfulness and gratitude in our hearts, because God has certainly used these folks here to pour into us and bless us.
Yeah, such a giving spirit in this
It sure
town.
is.
All over, you just find that kindness, and again, just a willingness to help others, to feed into others.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's been great for your ministry. It's taught you a thing or two, I guess, and that you want to now minister or feed into young lives and show them a way to move forward, a way to grow spiritually.
Exactly. And one of the things, if I could say just briefly, is in my dissertation, I felt like we have suffered because of the degradation of the family unit. People don't have parents who can pour into them, and we're fragmented, moving around. They don't always have time or the energy or effort to find friends who will pour into them. Sometimes they just need counsel, wise counsel, and they don't necessarily have older adults who can pour into them. And so that's one of the things I want to do as a life coach, and maybe help folks who need that kind of
So you're
work.
going to help people at all levels, not just in the church body.
That's what I'm hoping. We're looking at different jobs, but I think it may take a minute or two to build up. I'm not sure whether they call it a practice, but I'm going to seek certification in doing life coaching, and just see what God has in store. God has certainly worked out all the details, you know, over the past 30 years, not in ways I would have anticipated, obviously much better.
Yeah.
But I'm trusting the Lord based on, you know, not only how good He's been to us, but as you look back through the Bible, you know, you look at Moses and his journey, even Jonah, who was in the belly of the whale, but God used him to speak to Nineveh.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not anything like them, but maybe God can use me if I make myself available and I can listen and be obedient.
Well, you know as well as I do, Mary, and many, that's why those stories are there for us.
Exactly.
To encourage us, to point us in that same direction. Because God today is the same God of yesterday.
That's right. And tomorrow, we know He'll be faithful.
Yeah. Take another short break and be back with Mary, so you stay with us.
Hey, I'm Tasha Rowland, inviting you to come out to the Cloverleaf Restaurant to enjoy all-you-can-eat buffet. We are now cafeteria style. We got all your favorite cooked up and fresh, ready to enjoy. Open Sunday through Friday, 11 to 2. And Friday is our seafood day. Cloverleaf Restaurant will have your plate ready. Call 478-275-2080. Cloverleaf Caters. Call us for your next gathering or event. Cloverleaf Restaurant, we'll see you soon.
I'm Jeff Shepard, and we're here at Roach Farmer Garden to let you know that we are here for you. You may call us at 478-272-3340. We're offering curbside pickup, or call in and ask about delivery on bulk items. Cooking more around the house? Have a full line of grills, fryers, along with the seasoned pellets, chips, and charcoal. Small garden or 1,000-acre farm. We have everything from fertilizer, seed, and weed control. From cats to cows and every animal in between. Roach Farm and Garden carries all the feed and a full line of animal care products. Trouble finding pool supplies? Roach Farm and Garden has you covered. Got too much time on your hands? Get your honey-do some plant. We have trees and shrubs arriving daily with a greenhouse full of veggies. Roach Farm and Garden in 2 locations, Dublin and Wrightsville. Good luck and God bless.
Hi, I'm Don Carswell, General Manager of Dublin Chevrolet. We're open, but we never close, and we're making it easier to get the vehicle you need.
Right now, get 0% financing up to 84 months or no payments for 120 days.
Dublin Chevrolet will gladly pick up your car for service or deliver your new Chevrolet to your home.
Summertime's a great time for a new Chevy.
From Dublin Chevrolet to your driveway, we deliver.
Anywhere in the great state of Georgia. Dublin Chevrolet, the only dealer you will ever need.
All right, we welcome you back again here with Dr. Mary Crowson. Congratulations again. We had the opportunity to film Saturday morning. You guys were out for a little run, a little trot as I call it. You guys may be running, I'm trotting for sure. But you come around the corner, come up the street there, and tell me about how that felt to you.
I was totally surprised, probably the biggest surprise of my life, as we were coming down Woodrow Avenue towards Pine Forest. I saw a sign, first of all, at the corner of the church, and then I saw the gentleman from TV 35 filming, and I thought something doesn't look right, and then I see my friends Kathy and Glenda gleaming, and there's obviously I have been set up in more ways than one, but a wonderful surprise drive-by party, and to celebrate Saturday would have been the graduation. We should have been in Kentucky, and just everybody has had to make adaptations, and so it was kind of anticlimactic to say, okay, we're just not going to do it. I know a lot of high school students are missing graduation and that kind of thing, and so it just was. You just make the best out of what it would have been, but they actually put together a drive-by party and took up money for a scholarship for international students at Asbury, which is very near and dear to my heart. And it was just a wonderful morning to see so many friends I hadn't seen in weeks, to drive by, and you couldn't hug, but we waved and we smiled at each other, and it was nice to be able to see so many I've grown to love and appreciate.
Yeah, and they love you so much to turn out and drive
Exactly.
through waving.
Exactly.
You got to hear you pop circumstance. It was almost like a celebration after the graduation, and it was.
Exactly.
It was.
Exactly.
So you donned your cap and gown?
They had a cap and gown. When you get a doctorate, you have a hood, and they had gotten a hood and the whole 9 yards. It was just amazing. They had me put it all on. Thankfully, there was some shade there. It could have been quite warm, but it was great to have that celebration and all kinds of signs and and I'm still stunned and speechless.
Yeah. I could only imagine what it would be like to run through your memory of scenes at Pine Forest United Methodist Church, just, you know, in a flash, all the different little choir groups and adult choir groups and Easter programs and Christmas programs and the vacation Bible schools that you've been a part of, and again the different youth ministers and people that have come through, and the people who've come to you for advice, or you've helped them really learn a few notes to be able to sing, and then they grow up in the choir, go on to serve in so many ways. And what a blessing it must be for you.
Well, it sure is. One of the things we've done over the years was I did a learning to read music class for folks in the church and folks in the community. Part of it was, you know, it enriches the lives of others, but it also helps those who might want to ring handbells. That's a big thing at Pine Forest, and I'm clenching my fist, not because I'm going to punch somebody, because when you ring a handbell, you hold it in your hand, and that's why they call it a handbell.
Right.
But to be able to do that and to do it well and not hold back the others who have experience, you've got to be able to read music. Even if you don't read music, you can see that the notes, the little circles, go up or go down. And that's one of the things, you know, I would say often in choir, you've got folks who read music and can sing it just by looking at it, and then there's others who, I'm not sure, I've got to listen and put me next to a strong voice. And you say, you know, even if you don't read music, you can tell those notes are going up or going down. And so that's the beauty of a choir. You know, you may have some soloists, but unless you've got all these people who love God, that's first in my mind, and love music, it takes a community. And while the music is important, in my mind, it's more about ministry and growing people in Christ through the medium of music, with the goal of growing closer to Christ. And often that brings that group closer together as they not only sing together and praise God, but they pray together and they build friendships, and they see each other at the grocery, or they might go have a cup of coffee and do business together even. So it's, you know, another wonderful way to grow disciples for Christ and give glory to God for years to come.
So let's take it back to early childhood or teen, whenever you gave your life to Christ.
I became a Christian and asked Jesus into my heart as a 14-year-old in 1978 under the ministry of Kenneth Copeland. Some know that name, a charismatic preacher. I had grown up in the church, but I did not know what it was like to have a personal relationship with Christ. And so many times we don't realize the effect we have on people. A lot of folks like here had poured into me in that little church in Ohio. But it was a high school Sunday school teacher who loved me even when, I hate to say it, but middle school and high school, sometimes they try to make your life difficult just to see if you'll still love them. And I was one of those. But she loved me fiercely and the people in that class, and poured into us regardless, and showed me the love of Christ in a fierce and unconditional way. And that kind of poured into me a desire to be more like her, to be more like Jesus, and then to grow in my faith in college, and then feel a call to ministry going to Asbury, which I had talked about. And that, I'm going to say, that was a real turning point when I met Georgia Leah, her name, and now she's in her 80s in Ohio. But that little church really poured into me and made a difference through folks who loved me before she came along, but especially how she's poured into me over the years and made a difference.
So it's the ideal time to take a moment, ladies and gentlemen, and remind you, if you have a Sunday school class, if you've been serving young people and whomever alike, go ahead and contact them. Make sure you're staying in touch with them. Don't let a bump in the road that we're going through right now, a little virus, slow you down from doing the will of God. And staying in touch, and especially with those that might be a little difficult and trying and don't really want to respond, try even more.
Oh yeah, I know, especially with my kids. And even my work with youth, I am actually an introvert, and so I have to, at work, I try to be the extrovert. But with my kids, the folks who actually showed an interest and loved them, and were genuine with them, it made a big difference to them, and they can tell. Kids can tell
No doubt.
when you love them genuinely. You don't have to spend a ton of time, but just show an interest and ask them about school, and pour into them and love them.
So go back to youth now. Early on, what was one of your favorite songs? What is it?
Oh golly, I remember, and you probably do too. Amy Grant came on the scene. Earliest, I was a big Carpenters fan. I sang the Karen Carpenters, "They Want to Be Close to You." And Sandy Patty, I remember when they all started. I'm showing my age because Sandy Patty's retired, and has brought up her children, and now their careers are taking off. Amy Grant, of course, Vince Gill, and I've kind of lost track of her. But my first concert I attended was an Amy Grant concert. And I can still remember sitting there in the balcony thinking, gosh. And she sang one of the songs, not deeply spiritual, but Fat, Fat Baby. You know how we want to go and get fed, but we don't necessarily want to give to others. We just want to be fat Christians and sit on the pew. And then, you know, I've always enjoyed classical music, being trained as a classical musician. And then I enjoy Christian music of all varieties, but even bluegrass. I probably people don't know Alison Krauss. I love her voice, just the kind of purity, and she can play the fiddle. And Josh Turner, there's something about that big bass voice that can long black train, you know.
Yeah.
So just a big variety.
But if you had to pick a classical song that you could play before a crowded room right now, what would it be?
Oh golly, the organ, the Vidor toccata. I started to say cantata because we sang cantata so often. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony with "Joyful, Joyful We." That's where that comes from. Those probably would be some of my favorites. But
what variety you have, and that's so important, isn't it, to expose yourself to different genres, different.
I agree, and I think it's wonderful to see folks focus on, you know, I've seen kids go to Juilliard and that kind of thing, and it's wonderful to focus, but sometimes they miss the well-rounded I went to a liberal arts college, and I was the only girl in woodworking, but I didn't excel, but I enjoyed it. And you know, I took constitutional law, and I took a wide variety of things, and you know, it could be said I'm a jack of all trades and master of none, but I feel like I have enjoyed so many different things, and it gives you the ability to talk to different people, I believe. And while you may not have a depth of knowledge, I can talk to you about broadcasting a little bit, or you know,
different subjects.
Exactly.
And it opens a door for us when you do that. You don't have to know everything about someone, just enough to start a conversation, show them that you care, and share the love of Christ.
Yes, exactly. And ask questions. And a lot of times that's all somebody needs to get started, is showing interest in them and showing interest in what they care about and love about. And then when they see your love and care for them, that's when they may start to ask questions or care about what is important to you. And to me, that's the love of Christ, and one of the best ways we can show that in a relationship.
So what have you learned about, through your fitness discipline lately, what have you learned about people when you go to the gym there? You know, Jay Bailey's an exceptional person. He's such a good guy. And his staff there, everyone's, you know, Alton, Jeremy, Kim, everyone is just caring and they want to help, but you kind of, a gym has a personality.
Oh, it sure does, and there's so many different personalities that come. There's a lot of times I would go in the morning with the flexibility with my church job. I might go in the morning because I'm working, into the evening, and you see folks who have either flexibility that are younger, like myself. Well, maybe I'm not younger anymore, but and then you have the folks who are retired who are either on the cardio equipment or going to the pool. Some folks using the Nautilus, and then you've got the younger folks with the free weights. And it's nice to not only see them working out, but to also speak to them. I may not know everybody's name, but you start to recognize a lot of faces.
Yeah.
And you have that bond in common. And see them out, and I'm like, oh, hey, I know you from the gym, but I didn't recognize you with clothes on. Whoops, I didn't say that, did I? Yeah.
That's good, Mary.
Yeah.
So you got a lot to look forward to in life. You're turning a page, moving on to a chapter that's yet to be written, and we wish you so much success in that.
Thank you, Ron.
I know people will be keeping up with you on social media and want to hear from you, and you'll be sorely missed at Pine Forest United Methodist Church.
Well, Pine Forest has played a major role in our lives for nearly 2 decades, and we will always carry Pine Forest and even Dublin folks. It's just a close-knit community beyond the church. We will carry them close in heart. One of the folks, groups that did the drive-by on Saturday, and I was so surprised, but not really, was my friends from Owls. Came through because Saturday, not only my graduation was supposed to be, but it was supposed to be the annual bird review.
Yeah.
And so one of their dances with cowboy hats, and so they came through with their cowboy hats, honking and waving, and you won't have that in a big city, I don't think, but it sure has been a blessing.
Yeah.
Well, we've been here in Dublin, and we will certainly carry those relationships close to heart.
Okay.
And remember them fondly.
So if you were to close your eyes and be standing in front of Pine Forest United Methodist Church, and you're going to sing one last song for them, a cappella.
This morning I read in the Psalms, I would encourage you to look to Christ. And I would sing it for you. Whom have I in heaven but thee? And besides thee I desire nothing on earth, though my flesh and my heart they may fail. You are my strength and my portion forever, forever and ever. Amen. May He be your strength and your portion. Amen.
Dr. Mary Crowson, everyone.
Thank you.